method of business would persist until the formation of the National Wrestling Alliance in 1948. The NWA as a central governing body, with its singular, undisputed world champion, would be absolute and undeniable. This control, combined with the expansion of the interstate highway system, and the inevitable popularity and availability of regional television, would usher in an era of wrestling that was defined by what would come to be known as the territory system. The territory system would dominate wrestling for nearly 4 decades. While the borders, authority, popularity, and obedience of individual NWA territories was in a near constant state of flux, to this day the impact and influence of these territories is still felt. Each territory had its own signature promoter and star. While it is impossible to cram these characteristics into a static, concrete map, we are damn sure going to try anyway.
So open up your eyes way before it gets too late. Now one man, there's no way you can hit the street lights running, don't give a damn. A simple explanation that you'll never find. Sinners never sacrifice, we never leave them alone. Is hate really worth the price? Look at what we've done. Never care for compromise, always threatening someone's life, and it feels like the end of the world.
Alrighty. The 30 is back on Thursday at 8 p.m. I want to introduce the cast of the 30. Sorry, guys, got to get my act together. I'm a little sleepy tonight. Anyway, the champion of the 30 who regained the title after a one-on-one battle with his partner, Dan, from Dan and Benny in the Ring. Beat him on the Steve Kern question, I think it was. Right, Dan?
Yeah, he got me. I mean, he only had to turn my mic off and steal my answers to beat me by 1 point,
Or have the dog bark, or have a microwave going, or there's always something going on.
The roommate walkthrough.
I'll tell you,
there's always something.
Janetti in the barbershop got nothing on how betrayed my teammate was. That's for sure.
That's for sure. But let's introduce the champion, because you never know how long he's going to hold on to the title. This title's worse than the 24/7 title. No one holds it for more than a week, and that's only because we have one show a week. Player, champion, how are you, buddy?
Welcome to Playerville. Players back for the gold 4 times.
All right, a couple things we want to check off. Dog,
Bree, right here.
All right, good. Microwave.
All right. Microwave's off. Roommate's gone. TV's off. It's just me this time.
Smoke alarm.
Gun. Knives.
Yeah.
Anything to interrupt your foes or your foils.
I mean, I got to win this one on my own tonight.
All right. You're worse than Ric Flair, dude. You have more ways to cheat than anybody, boy.
I'm the 30th player in the game, right?
Very good.
The 30 dirty.
That's ESO. ESO, how are you, dude? You think this is the day? Is this the night that you are crowned the new champion?
Absolutely. It should have been weeks ago when I got screwed on the John Tolos question. I mean, I had that. I had 50 John Toloses out before
you did.
30 seconds were up.
You did. Unfortunately for you, the producer turned you off. Look, I have no control of that. I would have let it keep going. Last but not least, the president, Mr. Boston. Phil, how are you, pal?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
By the way, Phil and ESO will be joining the Monty and the Pharaoh show on Saturday at the big event, and will be in studio, and we're talking about them doing one of the interviews, which should be pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So we got a
Yeah,
big,
baby.
Stop on by.
we've got a big weekend. We'll talk about that on the main show. All right. So here we go. Are you guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right. WWE fans puzzled by Bob Backlund's omission from the world title stats at Crown Jewel. Surprisingly to no one, Roman Reigns beat LA Knight at Crown Jewel, ensuring his historic run as an undisputed champion in WWE continues, now at 1,163 days long. Only 3 people in WWE history have ever had a longer world title reign than the Tribal Chief, Hulk Hogan, Bob Backlund, and the former living legend Bruno Sammartino. However, when acknowledging these stats at Crown Jewel, Michael Cole did not mention the iconic Bob Backlund. Is this a simple mistake, or is there more to this? You've got a minute and 30 to sell me on this, gentlemen. We're going to open up with the player, the champion. Simple mistake, player, or is there more to this? We're putting you up on the board. I want to see the 30 clock before we start. Just waiting on the clock there, Mr. Producer. We've got the better-looking producer in the house, Jared, who's filling in for Abe tonight. So he's kind of learning the 30, so I'm asking the fans to be just a little calm here as he gets the clock up. Because I think Jared forgot to put the clock up, didn't you, Jared? Wow. Hello.
You get some like Jeopardy music here or what?
We haven't even gotten to the first question, and Benny's already cheating. What's going on here?
I know. He's
I know,
trying
right?
not to get the
Whatever
clock
it
on
takes.
there. He's got all this time now to think about everything. Oh, my God.
I know, right?
Hang in there, guys. Keep the flow going. Not good for audio, though. This is how we looking there, producer man. Minute 30, please. I want to see the player, big screen, so I can see that minute 30. Bob Backlund, simple mistake, or is there more to this? I am waiting for the 30. There's noise going on, there's drinking, craziness happening. All right, pop him up so I could see him, please. Hopefully this will be the only glitch of the night. All right, is the clock up?
There we go.
I see the clock. Got to make it bigger than that, Jared. I'm friggin' blind, bro. I mean, I'm looking at this thing. I can't see this thing. I can't look it on my computer because it's delayed. Can you make me a bigger clock? Like a giant clock? Sorry, guys. I'm blind. He had like a mini clock up there. I couldn't even tell you what was on there. I don't want to have to throw my spec up. Benny, are you prepared for this? You seem like you're not even sweating it.
Nah, I'm ready. I'm waiting for the clock. You say when.
I'm waiting for our producer. We just forgot to put the clock up. That's all. It happens. Jesus Christ, dude. All right, fine. All right, you're on the 30. Go.
We'll have to get an hourglass.
All right. Well, first of all, Michael Cole defies the law of physics, and I say that because he can both suck and blow at the same time. Now, as far as Bob Backlund, I mean, what a tragedy! Jesus God. I mean, you're talking about one of the most iconic wrestlers of all time, and I know Mike's youth. I know my early adulthood. This is a Mount Rushmore wrestler. I mean, they put that belt on Backlund for a reason, and the reason was that anybody who came into the territory, if they tried to screw with Backlund, they were going to come out of the short end of that. I know that there was an instance of Angelo Mosca trying to shoot on Backlund, and he regretted that tremendously. But Bob Backlund, I mean, the guy was a great champion. I mean, was he the most charismatic guy of all time? Hell no. But was he a good representative? Was he a flag bearer of that championship? Absolutely yes. I don't know why they're doing this. I don't know why. I mean, why do they need to eliminate Backlund to elevate Reigns? That's just wrong. It's disrespectful to a man that I consider a true legend of professional wrestling. Just sad.
All right, good job. I think you might have lost some points there as the producers mess around with the clock, but unfortunately, can't help it.
Yeah, I don't think I got a minute and 30. So,
look, dude, what can I tell you?
Oh, geez, look, 6 points. Come on. In the words of Davey Boy Smith, I got fooped. Yeah.
Whoa!
Seems like a Montreal Screwjob. I don't even know what's going on now. We got
Never seen anything
checkerboards.
like that.
Everything's happening right now.
Dan's behind that. I know he is.
Oh, wow. All right, well, speaking, he was up last week's runner-up, Dan. We want to get him up on the board when the producer finally decides to get the clock. That clock's fine, dude. I can see it. Minute 30, please.
Yeah, now I can.
Man, you got screwed. 6 points. That's rough, man.
I got hosed.
You did get hosed. I don't think you're winning. I think
Like I
you're
was
holding
at
on
San
to your
Quentin
belt
prison.
tonight, pal. Dude, you can't run the clock until I say the 30. I mean, holy cow. These new producers, man. They're just like, what the hell? Are you ready? You're on the
do it.
30, Dan. Go.
All right, well, I totally have to start by agreeing with Benny. Michael Cole is awful. I think nothing excuses the incident from WrestleMania when Shane jumped through the table and it panned over and Michael Cole was actively reading from a piece of paper saying, "Oh my God, he just smashed through the table. What a surprise." It was terrible. He's bad. But no, in this case, I think this is a simple old Occam's razor. You know, the simplest solution is the right one, and either it was omitted by accident. They've mentioned Backlund a bunch of times over the last year or so as Reigns' title reign has gotten longer and longer. So I don't think it's an omission, even if there's...
Just because a few people are really saying anything about it, I think if they just keep pushing the mantra, Hogan's the next thing, which leads me to believe that Cody Rhodes is not winning that title. If they're going to do this, and this was on purpose, Cody Rhodes is not going to become champion.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
too.
Roman would have to keep the belt until September of next year, though.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
I mean, if you're going to go this far to eliminate like an icon like Backlund, try to just get past them. Now, again, you guys could be right; it could have been a mistake, but I can't imagine it was. I just can't. That's a pretty big mistake.
I don't think it was. I think it was intentional.
Yeah, and
We'll
Like
know
I
if we get
said-
an apology.
like I said, to make him number 2 and make sure it happens, that means Cody's done. The dream is over,
Yeah.
at least for the foreseeable future.
At least for a year and a half.
ESO, I'm
He's still
just waiting
young.
for the clock. All right. Can we put the clock over ESO there, Mr. Producer Man? There you go. All right, you're on the 30. Go, Brucey.
All right. Well, the original question was, is there more to this? Yes, there is more to this. Michael Cole is not stupid. Michael Cole knows who was champion, when, and where, and for what time period. He's been around the WWF and WWE for generations worth of fans. This is totally to elevate Roman to a different level. A really popular podcaster was on another podcast called Busted Open last week, and he brought up some great points that, maybe this is building up towards Roman getting so close to Hulk Hogan and maybe Cody going over at that point. But let's look back. There were discrepancies in Backlund's title defenses. He did have that Inoki lapse. He did have something, I believe, with Harley Race. He did have that thing with Valentine. So yeah, there was definitely more to that. Now let's talk about this in general. The WWE, WWF has had a history of rewriting wrestling history. When I was a kid, they told me that Andre the Giant had never been slammed and had never been defeated before. But lo and behold, Shea Stadium, Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant had fought before, and Hulk Hogan and Andre. And then Andre had lost by disqualifications many times throughout his career. So, yeah, this is a definite work
job,
for the
Bruce.
fans.
Good job. Unfortunately, I think our producer fell asleep, and your look at how the clock is updated. I'm like, what's going on? Wow, Bruce, you're at first. Look at that.
Bruce.
At first, I thought the producer was sleeping at the wheel, but good point on Andre the Giant Hogan. And in my mind, even though, like, we all know how many times Andre's been slammed, you always kind of remember that Hogan was the guy that did it.
So
All right,
about it
guys.
This way, when I was a kid, we didn't have access to the VHS cassettes readily yet, so we couldn't see that type of stuff. So we believed the WWF, and then you go back and you look at it. It's like, oh, wow, yeah, look at all this history that happened before.
Well, I think it falls in the same chapter as if the glove doesn't fit, you must have quit. You
I
push
said
it
that
long
today.
enough, but people will believe it, right? All right, guys, question 2. Seems a pay-per-view cocaine spot may mean no TV for the NWA. The story from Nick Hausman, House of Wrestling, which also provided the October 18th report, that the TV contracts Corrigan's been teasing were recently revamped broadcast network, the CW. It deals with bit on October 28th in which Father James Mitchell and his entourage, were seen drinking and snorting a powder while the announcing team awkwardly laughed at the scene. Does this affect the NWA, and why? ESO, you can open up with this. By the way, we had Father James Mitchell in here. Didn't seem like he did cocaine, but who knows? Anyway, you're on the 30, Bruce. Go.
Is it going to affect them? In this day and age, absolutely, because we're in a judgmental thing. But if this were any other television show, we would just laugh it off. It's just another angle. It's not real. It's wrestling. It's a taped thing. We either have to start taking things at face value or go the other way. You kind of can't have both when it comes to professional wrestling. Why does pro wrestling always get judged in that middle rate? Oh, it's overboard. Oh my gosh, you can't do that. But you see more violent, more crazy things on the everyday network crap. I don't know. Somehow this just doesn't seem. Should it affect the NWA? No, but will it? Unfortunately, I think it will. And the NWA has a chance to put out a product that's different than some of this other stuff that the WWE and the AEW are doing. They're trying to bring back that little bit of old school, a little bit of realism, a little bit of good feel in it. I actually I didn't realize how big of a fan of EC3 I would be until I just went back and started rewatching some of the recent NWA stuff. I think Billy Corgan's doing a good job. Shock is good for wrestling. Unfortunately, in this instance, I think it's going to work against him where I don't think it should. Prostitutes, drugs, all that have been part of wrestling forever. It's not going away. It's part of it's part of Hollywood.
Good
It's
job,
part of
Bruce.
everything.
Good job. Good job. All right, I need a live counter, man. I can't have after the go counter, okay? All right. Phil, you're in the number 2 spot, buddy.
Tough stuff, baby.
It is tough stuff. Will this affect the NWA, and why? You're on the 30. Go.
Sadly, in this very judgmental age, it could affect their TV deal here. But, most of us would agree that it doesn't make sense. Who was it that once said, I don't know if it was Vince himself who said, we don't make matches, we make movies. And, people know now, if this were a different era, pre-1985 or whenever Vince went public, that this is a bit of a work, then maybe you could make an argument this was being sold as a sporting event and the drugs don't have any place in it. But you look at the Chicago Bulls in the 80s when Michael Jordan first came on, he said he walked into the hotel room and nearly everyone on the team was doing lines. So, and this is stuff that airs on ESPN. So they made, real references to real events, The product needs to be edgy. I think it's great. I think it fits in with Father Jim Mitchell's character perfectly. How much more evil can we make him having, the ladies of the night and the cocaine and everything else all around. So artistically, I understand
All right,
this.
Phil, good job. I really couldn't tell if it's a minute 30 because the producer forgot to start the clock. We're working well tonight,
Okay.
folks. Wow. Oh, my God. Woo. All right.
Let's go, Phil.
Jared, baptism by fire. Dan, you're in this bad boy. You got a tie up at the lead. You're only 10 points off. It's your favorite subject, cocaine. This should be a home run. Dan, you're on the 30. I want to make sure the clock starts this time, Dan, so go. Okay, now it's
We used
going to
to
go.
say during military drills, start the problem, start the clock.
Very
Is this
good.
going to impact the NWA? Yes, absolutely. Honestly, I think that this was part of something bigger. I know it sounds weird and conspiracy-like, but they just recently announced that NXT is moving to the CW, and I'm getting vibes from years back when ECW was on TNN, and then TNN pulled the plug to sign with the WWE. And the story was that they had used ECW as a test balloon to see how they could run wrestling before they went to a real company. I think the CW wanted the WWE to begin with. They went to the NWA and found an excuse to push them. Honestly, I think the rumors that the NWA would get bumped to CW's streaming service off their live channel is probably true, kind of like they have now with Fight TV, where there's not a network channel. You go to the streaming app and watch Power. I think, yes, I agree this isn't that big of a deal, especially with James Mitchell's character. But in the age of modern television, when everyone is offended by everything and everything can upset and hurt people immediately, you have to be on your absolute best behavior. Whoever approved a cocaine spot while you're still negotiating a TV deal with a family-friendly network, that was a bad, dumb move. NXT's moved in. They've taken your parking space. You're parking down the street and walking. NWA is screwed as of right now.
Nice job, Dan, and popping in a lead. Champ, 6 points. I feel like you're Zach Wilson, 3rd and 3.
Oh, don't use that name. No, please.
You're like Zach Wilson, 3rd and 3, and there's no chance you're getting the first down.
That means
right
I'm gonna fumble and short myself.
You're gonna. That's right. You're either gonna fumble it, throw an interception. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, you're on the 30. Let's get you back in this, champ. Go.
Not for anything. I think Billy Corgan, instead of smashing pumpkins, I think he's banging pumpkins right now. The same way that Wilford Brimley was sticking his ding dong into Quaker Oats. Just what a horrible move this was for NWA. I mean, what are they thinking? You got James Mitchell, who is the great value version of Gary Hart. Coming up with an incredibly... I can't really blame him because it probably wasn't his storyline. But, I mean, why would you do this when you're on the verge of a contract with CW? I get that you want an edgy product, but bottom line is you also want to make this product appealing to a family. I mean, if you're a parent and your 13-year-old son is watching NWA and they see this crap, what are they going to do? They're going to tell them you can't watch this anymore. So, whereas they can, anybody can watch WWE. Most people, I can't say most people can watch AEW because it is a niche show. But, if you're an up-and-comer like NWA and you're trying to establish yourself, this is the last thing that you want to do. You want to become appealing to everybody. And then if you want to make it edgy later on, once you've established yourself, then do something like that. But no. This was, like Dan said, an incredibly stupid move.
Good job, Benny. Right back in this. Here's the question, right? We had EC3 in studio, and we just had Aaron on last week. And both those guys are like, do you have a problem working for a guy that wasn't in wrestling, even though he's a rock star? And clearly, this is a perfect example. Someone should have stopped Corrigan and said, yeah, not a good idea, Billy. Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right, I agree.
Bad move.
I mean, Aaron last week was saying they're like a family over there, right? And they all know they got this contract. These guys have to know. I mean, Aaron was in the WWE, EC3 was in the WWE. I agree with you guys. How could anyone think that was a good idea in today's environment, especially being an up-and-coming environment? It reminds me of when McMahon used to talk about Heyman. He's like, it's a product, but it's a product you can't sell because advertisers aren't going to want it.
Right.
All right, question 3. Is the Keith Lee experiment over? During last night's episode of AEW Dynamite, Joe defeated Keith Lee in a stellar match for the title. Afterward, he took the microphone and said that he's proven he's the greatest Ring of Honor television champion ever. And now he's hungry for the AEW World title, and he'll be vacating the television title. The question is, guys, Keith Lee does a job and Joe vacates the title. Does this mean that Keith Lee is just done? Instead of just handing him the title, let him be Joe and maybe move on his career, he thought so poorly that he would lose and then Joe vacates the title. Is the Keith Lee experiment over? Phil, you're on to 30. I'm waiting for the clock. Go.
No, I don't think the experiment is over at all. He is a proven commodity. Did you hear the pops that he got, the chants that he got? He is over the moon with the fans, and rightly so. And I've been a big fan of his for several years now, even when he was back with the company. He is so impressive, a 350-pound man who can throw his body around like that, leapfrog like that, just explosive, unbelievable. And he really... He looked at times like he was going to take out Samoa Joe, but I don't think that this is. I mean, it is a slap in the face to him, but perhaps this is the start of something else. Is it the death of him, or is it maybe a rebirth? Is it giving him a reason, a story, something to pursue? Is it giving the title actually a little more notoriety now because of the way Joe, like a classic heel, just cast it aside? So I think maybe just the opposite, and I hope it does foster a feud between these two, because I think this is the first time they ever met in ring, so in a single situation. So, I can't believe that Keith Lee would go in and have one match and that be it, unless he has broader horizons ahead of him. So I think this is the start of something good. I definitely want to see him go over Samoa Joe. I like them both very much, but I'm definitely a Keith Lee fan. Again, the audience, I mean, who would want to get rid of him? He is so over, and rightly so.
Good job, Phil.
And a unique look.
Good job, buddy. I don't know. I still think Cole should have became a manager like the WWE wanted him to be, and he could have managed Keith Lee, and God knows where they would have been by now. ESO, you're in the 2 spot. You're in this game. The pressure's on. You are in this game, man. You're on the 30. Go.
All right, the question is Keith Lee done? No, not at all. This is just the beginning of him. I came back to wrestling in about 2019 and brought myself back up to speed on a lot of things. And overall, Keith Lee was somebody that I was really impressed with what he was accomplishing in WWE, and I was kind of surprised when he was let go. Yes, I know he put on a little bit of weight and stuff like that, and maybe he wasn't as mobile. But I have to say, recently, this guy's been showing more and more charisma and more of what he can do. He definitely has life left in him, even if it's beyond AEW. Don't forget, his wife, Mia Yim, works over next door at WWE, and I don't think he left on bad terms. If he's just proving himself for a year or two at AEW to get that contract to go back to WWE, I wouldn't blame him. He's definitely a good commodity. He's good on the mic. He looks great. How many 300-plus pound men move like that? Man, it just reminds me of like a Bam Bam Bigelow. I expect the guy sometimes to do cartwheels across the ring. As far as the way he lost the title, I think that's a lack of foresight on AEW. I mean, that makes absolutely zero sense. It does look like they're burying the guy, but the reality, like Phil had said, the pop the guy gets makes no sense for you to bury that. But let's look at AEW. It has way too many titles to begin with. Maybe this is a way of getting rid of one.
Well done, Bruce. Wow.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. I like the Mia shout out. Player, champ, you're back in this. You're within range after a terrible first round.
That wasn't my fault.
Well, that's up for question. I don't know. Have to talk to Jared about that.
This wasn't my fault.
Your issue will have to be taken up with the producer, the super producer, Jared.
Jared's level
It is
first
not.
round.
Is there a grievance procedure here or what?
There is. It has to go through me. The
Yeah,
host.
and Betty, it doesn't work. I'll give you Chubby Portello's number. Guess what? It does not work.
Wait,
You're not going to get anywhere.
the law firm of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe?
You know what? If you would have waited to the clock to start to say that, you would have picked up points. But again, you slipped up. You're on a 30.
I'm having
Go.
an off week. All right. So, no, I think this has nothing to do with Keith Lee whatsoever. This has nothing to do with Keith Lee and everything to do with Samoa Joe. I mean, now, why he felt like, or they felt like he needed to drop the Ring of Honor TV title to become a more serious contender for the world title, I have no idea, because they do have. I mean, look, MJF is the AEW World Champion and the ROH Tag Team Champion with Adam Cole. You got Eddie Kingston, who's the ROH World Champion, and the NJPW, I think it's Strong Champion. So, I mean, they already established a precedent of having champions with 2 belts. So I'm not really sure why they did this, unless they want. I mean, and part of the problem is they've thrown way too many challengers at MJF simultaneously. I think that's where they're making their mistake. Back in the day, Bruno, Backlund, any of these guys, Pedro, even Hulk, I mean, they would build up one heel and make them unbeatable, and to the point where you thought, oh shit, is Bruno going to lose his title, or is Backlund going to lose his title? Somehow they scraped by, whether it was 1 title match at MSG or 3, but no, I think Keith Lee is a very good commodity. He's solid. He's great in the ring. He's got a maybe not such a good look, but no,
Good job, champ. Good job. Benny, one thing I have to say, I love the point that you brought up about them pushing one heel. But back in the day, I used to love when cable first came out, and you'd watch the other arenas, like you'd catch Washington, and they were always behind the Garden, so you would get a different challenger there. And I always liked that. I always, I kind of like different challengers, actually. But that's just me. Who am I? I'm no wrestling expert.
You're
Dan.
the host.
Yes, sir.
You are ready, buddy. You're in this, and you're in this to win it. You're on the 30. Go.
Well, I want to start by answering the president's question. He said, who would want to get rid of Keith Lee? And the answer to that is Vince McMahon. So I completely agree.
Wow.
If I was... I agree. If I was Keith Lee, I would be biding my time until Triple H, TKO, and people that can actually competently run a wrestling company want me to come back. I mean, Keith Lee, he did have the weight gain. That was due to COVID and a heart problem that developed where he couldn't do cardio, and he went out there. That's maybe my body type knows it's hard to be skinny or at least in shape if you can't do cardio. But if you watched his match against Samoa Joe, he did a leapfrog, he did the flying crossbody, the jumping the jumping German, then when he reversed Samoa Joe's splash, it was just absolutely phenomenal stuff. He was over. When he is peak, you think about Keith Lee and Roman Reigns at the Survivor Series. You think about Keith Lee and Adam Cole in NXT. When he can go, he is one of the best big men in the business. He just turned 39 yesterday, so he's still got plenty of good years left if he can keep it going. But as for the title, do you remember when they got rid of the 24/7 belt? When Nikki Cross just so nonchalantly threw it away that she missed the trash can and no one even acknowledged that it was laying on the floor? That feels like what they just did with this title. You beat one of your most popular guys, and then the guy who beat him was like, I don't need this belt anymore. I want to go to something that actually matters. This is Diesel holding up the tag title going, what a pittance. It's just absolute garbage the way they treated this title. If they're not phasing it out, they drop
Good round, Dan. Good round. Though, I got to ask, why does COVID get the blame for Keith Lee's weight gain? Why not the pizza and tacos that he eats every night?
Well, just when somebody called him out on social media about it, it was Mia Yim that explained that he had COVID and was hospitalized, and everything else. So that's kind of been the official reason. What he ate while he was laid up, not. I don't know.
Yeah, Mia's not going to talk about that, right? Just saying. I don't know. What do I know? Again, I'm no wrestling expert. Question number 4. This is a tight race, guys. And I got to say, every week, I'm always impressed by you guys because I could not do this. I certainly could not do this. Lexis King takes credit for WWE NXT 11/7 viewership boost. WWE's NXT brand brought packed show this week. In the end, they pulled a decent viewership, improved from last week's numbers. It appears that one newcomer is taking credit. On November 7th, the episode of WWE NXT brought in 794,000 viewers. Guys, is Lexis King the reason? And what's Lexis King's future in the WWE? Dan, after that great last round, you're up first here. You're on the clock. You're at the 30. Go.
Is Lexis King solely responsible for the spike in the ratings? No. Did he help? Absolutely. Because for the first time in years, he has meant something. They had a chance. AEW had a chance to do something with Brian Pillman Jr. when his father's episode of Dark Side of the Ring aired, and he was one of the most popular people in wrestling at the time as far as sympathy from the crowd. Instead, they threw him in a jobber tag team, buried him, and did nothing. Yes, absolutely. This reinvented I don't want to be a Pillman anymore character he is going to be in the stratosphere. He is going to take his father's spot. Whether he'll be main event champion, I don't see Lexis King headlining WrestleMania, but he's got an Intercontinental U.S. and tag title reign in his future. He'll probably be NXT champion at some point. Absolutely, he deserves some of the credit for it. And NXT as a whole deserves the credit. Just last week, they had better ratings than Friday and Saturday combined for AEW. When Rampage and Collision combined had less ratings than NXT, that's a question of the product. When Lexis King, when he's not your main focus and he's still one of the best things on your program, 2, 3, 4 matches deep, you've got a character people care about, you got promos people care about, you got somebody that you know is going to be the future. Like I said, 2, 3, 4 matches deep, AEW doesn't have that. He deserves all the credit in the world for what he's doing. People said, give this guy the ball and he can run with it. He's got the ball and he is running to the end zone right now.
Whew. Another great round, Dan. Guys, Dan has come to play. I mean, those are 2 really solid rounds.
And I know Benny's a Jets fan, so the end zone is what you're supposed to get into if you don't know what that is.
Ow. Some anger over last week.
Ouch.
Could this be the end of the Dan and Benny show? I'm not so sure.
If an Orioles and a Yankees fan can get along, I think we'll be all right.
Player, champ. You had a great turnaround. You're back in the game, but your partner there is not making it easy on anybody in this game right now. You're on the 30. Go.
Do I think that Lexis King is responsible for the spike in the ratings? Absolutely not. But do I have a problem with Lexis King claiming that he's responsible for the spike in the ratings? Absolutely not. I mean, this is professional wrestling. These guys, I mean, what do you need to do as a wrestler? You need to get yourself over. That's the bottom line. And that's what this guy is doing. I mean, he's got the name, he's got the look, he's got the promo skills, he's got the in-ring ability. You know, you need that last little. It's like doing a bench press. You know, you need that last little oomph to get over the hump and get that rep done. I have no problem with him doing that. Now, whether or not, you know, from a social media perspective that he pisses off his AEW or NXT coworkers, that's a whole different story. But I mean, you know, it's a business where everybody works everybody. Mike, that's what you taught me. That they're all workers. Everybody works everybody. You know, this guy is working everybody to make them to believe that he's responsible for the rise in the ratings. And I agree with Dan. I mean, he's probably in good part responsible for the rise in the ratings. Totally, nah. But, I mean, the guy is a star in the making, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where this guy goes because he's definitely a future star.
Well done, champ. Another good round. Man, you guys are playing hardball today. ESO, you're in the third spot. There's a chance for you to become champion. Lexi King stands between you and the world title. You're on the 30. Go.
First of all, was Lexis King responsible for the ratings boost? No. Has anybody been watching what they've been doing with NXT over the past couple months? They've had Becky Lynch win the title. They've had The Undertaker perform. They've had Cody Rhodes perform. They've had Dominic Mysterio perform. This is not something new. They have been working towards building the ratings of NXT. And it's not only through having those stars there, it's also through writing better storylines, having better character development, and really working towards the future. Brian Pillman Jr., Lexis King, is he the future? Absolutely. As Brian Pillman Jr., he'll be the future. But right now, he's just Lexis King on NXT. I definitely think he's going. If this is him making a heel move, awesome. I think him saying, "Hey, I'm responsible for this ratings boost." As a heel, great. But as a person, no. That's kind of silly. If you're going to have that type of attitude in the WWE, we know what's going to happen. You end up getting buried. You're probably going to get let go. You're going to have to develop your ego in another place, in another system, and then we'll welcome you back and we'll bring you back to another level. Let's look at a Drew McIntyre. Come on. That's what's happened to a lot of the superstars with those super egos. This guy is not Braun Breaker. He is Brian Pillman Jr.
Nice
future,
round there,
however.
Bruce. Nice round. All right, Phil.
Wow,
This is
man.
becoming a chase, bro. And
Yeah.
Mr. King is the question of the day.
To quote
You're on
Norm
the
on Cheers, it's a dog-eat-dog world, and I'm wearing milk-bone underwear right
You
now.
are right now.
I love that
You
line.
are right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Again, another opportunity to wait for the clock to start and get some points, but you guys are giving away the joke early. You're on the 30. Go.
Brian Pillman Jr. Out of curiosity, I would watch to see his first match or second match, whatever it was. Worked late, didn't get a chance to see him. Saw him first live a number of years ago on an indie show. He does have it, regardless of, he has the great look. Of course, the lineage, the athleticism is off the charts. And, you talk about heels and making really vital, strong heels. What's one of the most heelish things a person can do? Renounce one's family, one's name. I mean, it's Shakespearean in a sense, and again, to call himself king, which of course is the family's name, Shakespearean in itself too. I mean, to claim responsibility for the great ratings of NXT is perfectly heelish. In fact, I think if the Bengals do well this season, if they see a resurgence somehow, he might lay claim to being instrumental in that too, which would be another wonderful thing for him. He's a compelling individual. I mean, let's not forget that Brian Pillman, his dad, worked in 3 different organizations at the same time, and again, we all know it. He was receiving 3 checks: one from ECW, WWE, and WCW. I mean, he is the ultimate worker, the ultimate heel, the ultimate guy who combines work and shoot. We call it a shork. It's a shoot work kind of thing, and he is perfect at blending reality and illusion. And I think
Well done, Phil.
Yeah.
Another well done. All right, guys, we're in the final round before the championship. Phil, you're going to be opening up, so stay right where you are.
All righty.
This one you won't be ready for. If you were ready for
I'm not
any of
ready
those
for any of
4
them.
questions, but this one's going to be a bit tough.
Okay.
What are the top 5 greatest pro wrestling entrance songs? And convince me why. Phil, you're on the 30. Go.
I loved Goldberg's, even though Goldberg's was used for a few people before Goldberg himself. I actually think Dean Malenko had that theme song beforehand, but I think Goldberg made it his, and it still gives me chills when I hear it. Love Finn Balor's in terms of something in the past 10 years or so. Finn Balor's is great. Again, and again, these are songs without lyrics, which is pretty good. I liked. Gosh, there are so many. Of course, I love Living Color and saw them this summer, but I mean, that is a great entrance theme, and I pop for it all the time. But I'm thinking more along the lines of themes that were created in these studios, WWE, WCW. Eye of the Tiger certainly is up there too with Hogan, one of the first to use music too, and actually Superstar Graham used it even before him briefly. Great tunes. Randy Orton's first theme song, I thought was great too. That ranks up there. Love the Shield. Okay, the Shield entrance theme, the whole entrance, the sound effects, just everything. Whenever I heard that, just magic. Sierra, Hotel, Echo, Indigo, Lima, Delta, Shield, awesome stuff, man. So I'm thinking along the newer lines, some of those songs, the wrestling themes that were created for the business.
Well done, Phil. Very tough question. I want to remind our producer, this is the final round. If they get bypassed, so right now Phil's at 53. If he gets bypassed, Dan is already still ahead of him. Phil goes to the land of misfit toys. There should be a thumbnail that will go over his face, and he will be executed and relieved of his duties on his show.
I'm going to go finish supper.
But you know what?
Wow, this show got dark.
Right now, you're at 53. Dan's at 51. You got Bruce at 41 and the champ at 44. So, Phil, you're really in this. ESO, you're on. What is the top 5 greatest pro wrestling entrances? And convince me why. You're on to 30. I'm just waiting for you to get the clock over you. Go.
All right, so the number 5 in my books. Not somebody I'm necessarily a fan of, but when this man made the entrance, you knew who was coming down, and that was Time to Play the Game, Triple H. That theme song, come on, everybody knows what was going to happen at that point. Number 4, the glass shatters. Who's about to come down to that ring? None other than Stone Cold Steve Austin. Anybody who's not popping for that, I don't know what the hell is wrong with him. Number 3, somebody from my youth. The one and only Macho Man Randy Savage taking a classical piece of music, Pomp and Circumstance, and using that for his lead into the ring. Come on, tell me that was not a majestic entrance. That was one of the most amazing entrances. You knew who was coming down at that point. It was the Macho Man, Randy Savage. Number 2, the greatest tag team ever to enter the ring. When you heard Iron Man by Black Sabbath come in, who was coming down to that ring to dominate? You had the one and only, the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom. And now, number 1, Hulk Hogan, I am a real American. Come on, who can deny that was the number 1 theme song of all time?
Bruce, well
You
done.
did.
But unfortunately, by my count, wait, no, you're still in here. I got to be honest. You're still live because Dan isn't up yet and he's trailing. So, Bruce, Dan cannot get any points and you might win this
Come
bad
on,
boy.
that was the greatest list.
It was a
Someone
pretty
fix
good
this
list.
clock. Turn the sound down.
But the bigger problem I had here is, can you convince me why? Maybe the player can, the champ. What are the top 5 greatest pro wrestling entrance songs and convince me why? Player, you're on the 30. I'm waiting for it to swing over. Go.
Well, I got to go with Bruce as far as Real American. The very second you heard the first bar of that song, the entire crowd popped. They went batshit. They knew that it was going to, in a couple of seconds, they were going to see Hulk come through the curtain, and it just, the entire crowd went wild. I would have to say the same thing with the Ultimate Warrior, the same exact thing. The minute you heard the beginning of that song, people went batshit. I mean, the Warrior was so over, and you knew that you were going to see some guy run down the ring at 900 miles an hour, shake the ropes, and forget about the fact that he was already blown up by the time he did that, and he wrestled a 2-minute match because he already shot his load. Making his entrance, and then I personally love Bret Hart, and maybe because Bret Hart was a personal favorite of mine. But I love that entrance song, and again, the crowd anticipated Hart coming out. One that nobody's going to say, and it's just a personal favorite, is "Girls in Cars" by Robbie Dupree, which was the entrance song of Strike Force, Martel and Santana. Just a great, catchy song.
Where
Jimmy
did you
Hart
come up
actually
with that?
Jimmy Hart sang that in 1988 Slammies.
Yeah.
Great song. I don't care. And of course, Ric Flair's entrance song. I mean, just iconic. I mean, it's, that slow song, and it just portrayed the champion that he was.
All right, man. Good job, player. I'm sorry, Bruce. You are at 52. Could we send him to the land of misfit toys? Jared, send Bruce on his way. Bruce, great job. Unfortunately, you didn't pull it off.
Bye,
Good
Bruce.
job,
I'll see
though.
everybody this weekend in New Jersey or in Long Island.
Yeah.
Just waiting for the land of misfit toys to go over your face and get rid of you. All right, well, then just get rid of them.
I'll just
Where's
send a
the
call. I'll
McMahon?
make it
You're
easier for you
fired.
guys.
You're fired. Bye, Bruce.
Silvano.
Did you disconnect him? There he goes. Bye-bye, Bruce.
Okay.
All right. Dan, you might want to save it. Once you get past 53, I would stop. But that's your call. You know the question. We're putting you up on the
course.
30. If you can't get 2 points out of this, my friend, I don't know what to say. You're on the 30. Go.
Well, you guys have had some serious good ones. You're, of course, all wrong. 100% greatest theme song ever. WCW Tag Team American Males. I mean, how do you not put that number one on the list?
American man.
No, if you're gonna if you want to talk convincing,
Can we get
someone-
minus points?
Minus points with it.
If you want to talk about convincing someone that they have a good theme song, you need the crowd to explode the second you hear that first chord. So I can only think of 5 that bring out that in anybody. Number 1, the Rock and Roll Express. You hear Rock and Roll is King, the women start screaming, babies in the air, Ricky Morton coming out getting the biggest pop you're going to hear this week. Absolutely on that list. I agree
Right.
with Benny, the Ultimate Warrior. Dun, 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 dun. The second you hear that noise, the crowd goes nuts. I was
All
always
right, Dan, I'm going to cut you off right there. Mr. Boston, we'll see you on Saturday, my friend. Well done,
See you on-
sir.
Yeah, thank you. Good night, guys.
He was training hard. Hey, don't forget, Phil, if you still hear me, you're coming on the main show. All right. All right, guys. Put them both at 0 for the championship round, please.
Uh-oh. Damn.
It's Dan and Benny in the
Hell of a
ring,
comeback,
facing
Benny.
off
Hell of
again.
a comeback.
This is going to be rough, boys. It's unbelievable. You guys squaring off again. You're at 0. Final question. What was the worst storyline in professional wrestling history? You're up first, Dan, once we get you up for the 30. Once we get you up. Go.
I know it's cliche because it gets talked about a lot and it's a more modern term, but I have never, in the 40 years I've been watching wrestling, I have never in my life been more disgusted or turned off by a storyline than 2 words: Katie Vick. You literally built an entire storyline around your former monster heel being a sympathetic babyface who might also be a necrophiliac rapist murderer. So yeah, what a great way to build up a new champion. No, I don't know who approved that. Can only imagine how awful that writing room was at the time, but you literally built Kane, this monster heel, monster machine. Now he's going to be the face. You had the great story with his buddy set up with X-Pac. We might be able to do something with him. Just kidding. Here's an entire storyline angle about having sex with a dead body and car accidents, and now you're no longer burnt. Oh, and by the way, we retconned your entire history. So everything, that great series you had with The Undertaker, WrestleMania 14, and your first defeat, and that great storyline, that never happened. Complete reboot on your past history, because we're really interested in having Triple H have sex with a fake mannequin in what was apparently a real funeral home, by the way. So just absolutely awful, awful stuff. I mean, when I think about the Shockmaster, when I think about some of the horrible gimmicks that came out of the territories, and they didn't burn me the way this did, number 1 worst storyline I have seen in my lifetime, Katie Vick.
Well done, Dan. Hey, player, You see what he did to you right there? He made sure he took another bad storyline out of your play, right, by mentioning it. So if you were going to use a Shockmaster, he took that out of your weaponry.
Yeah, well done.
He is a player.
Yeah.
We're putting you on the 30. You're defending the title. The sunglasses are off. What's going on here, man? This guy's ready for war.
I
Go.
gotta get serious here. Well, you know, if William Jefferson Clinton was sitting here next to me, he would tell Dan, "You just read my mind," because that was actually what I was going to say. I was going to say Katie Vick. I mean, I write for Pro Wrestling Stories, and I approached JP Zarka, and I said, "I want to write a story about Katie Vick," and he said, "Oh God, no, don't do that." But you know, bottom line, it wound up becoming my most widely read story with 165,000 reads, which is pretty damn good. But
Cheap pop.
and you know, if I'm not going to go with that, I have to go with the Mark Henry Mae Young angle, where you know he stuck his sexual chocolate in her oven, and I guess it melted to the point where she gave birth to a hand. I mean, where they got this from, I have no idea. To the point where even Pat Patterson threw up on TV, and you got to know that Pat Patterson saw a lot worse than a hand coming out of a woman's vagina. So that has to go down in history as the very worst. I mean, thankfully it didn't ruin Mark Henry. You know, I guess Mae Young somehow survived the hand coming out of her snizzatch, but you know,
Jesus.
that is by far to me the very worst angle in the history of TV. God help us all.
Oh, man. Well, champ, I hate to say it. We've got a new champion. Congratulations, Dan. Dan and Ben in the ring seem to be battling back and forth every week, and this is worse than a 24/7 title. We'll see everybody next week. God bless. All right, send a new link for the main show to Phil.